A Pantry Studio production.
The following may contain strong language and deals with adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I will be the last to fall. I won't shed a tear for them to see. I won't have your name to call, 'cause I will be the last to fall.
With over 24% of the 1.9 billion square acres in America alone, the mountains that so many people call home are also host to some of the most incredible mysteries in the world. The missing, the murdered, strange creatures, unexplained lights, and sightings of unidentified objects. These stories may be strange, they may be sad, they may be odd, but they are mysterious. These are the Mountain Mysteries Gatherings. And now, live from the Pantry Studio, broadcast to all time zones around the world, with listeners of the podcast in the United States, Canada, Germany, Norway, India, the United Kingdom, and more. These are the Mountain Mysteries Gatherings. Now, your host, Chris Sloan.
And good evening. Thanks a lot for being a part of the Mountain Mysteries Gatherings, part of the Mountain Mysteries family. Blurs and Nell, I'll be damned if we don't have the chills going on. It is October, and the chills are, of course, available through October. It's one of those things that it's an October-only thing, but we're getting in the mood for Halloween and fall, which is, I love fall. It's one of my favorite times of year, but the fact of the matter is I'm not really fond of what follows it. But, of course, as you can guess, we're going to be here. So we got a lot to talk about this evening, and I'm really honored. We're going to be bringing on a special guest here in just a few moments. This episode that's coming up, that's going to drop a little bit after midnight tonight, be available all weekend and next week for you to check out, is episode number 31, The Nightmares of a Child. It's a case that was resolved, thankfully, with good results. Elizabeth Ann Smart, she's still alive today. She's married, but man, the nightmare that she went through. It was hell on earth. And if you want my thoughts on this, the guy that abducted her when she was, I think, 14, his name was Mitchell. They ought to bury that bastard under the jail. Throw him as far under as they can and get rid of him and never let him see the light of day again, one way or the other. But you're going to hear all about that in the episode tonight. I want to address something before we go any further. I cannot tell you how many people I've had ask, message, email, mostly messages on Facebook, Instagram, stuff like that. Are you guys going to do one on Gabby Petito? Don't make any mistake about that. I think that Gabby Petito was a beautiful young lady. I think that she was so full of promise. And her loss is a loss to the world. But when we sit down to begin to write the script on what's going to be episode 32, which goes into production tomorrow, at the time that happened, we actually gathered, and I think it was over, well, I want to give you an exact number according to what Arrow gave me. Okay, that's actually not the one. I'm sorry. Let me get over here to where it should be. Nope, that's not it. It was over, let's see here. Yeah, here we go. Oh, here we go. 36,200,000 hits on her name. That's a lot of hits, folks. Sure is. And I get it. I understand why. Let me throw out another couple of names here for you real quick, okay? And I just want to mention these people, okay? Let me get down to it. Okay, have you ever heard of Carolyn DeFord? Well, she's not missing. She is a representative of something that you'll learn soon enough. How about Kiana Klump? Monica Bercier Wicker. Have you ever heard the name Ella Mae Begay? No, you've not, but you sure heard of Gabby Petito, haven't you? What do these other people that I've just mentioned have in common? They're indigenous women, indigenous ladies who have been missing and murdered for years, and nobody's ever heard their name. Now, the Mountain Mysteries is about the people, and not all people, or I'm sorry, all people, not just one. That's what I meant to say. They're about all people, not just one. So while I've got no problem doing an episode on Gabby Petito, I'm not in this for the ratings. I'm not in this to make the quick buck. We're in this for the people who don't have a voice. And my bet is that some of these names, like Ella Mae Begay, And because look at this, I'm still learning them too. Monica L. Bercier Whitaker, Kiana Klump. You've not heard those names, have you? I hadn't either. So while the world is fixed on Gabby Petito, and I do hope that it's resolved. I hope that she gets justice. I pray for it. We are going to talk about the people that nobody else is talking about. Because what in the hell gives anyone the right to pick only one person and give them mass exposure over the other? Now, look, Gabby's father had said publicly he's eternally grateful for having that kind of exposure. And I don't blame him. I would be too. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. But why not give some of that exposure to other people too? You don't hear the media talk about these people. There's going to be things that we bring up in episode number 32. It's called Even the Devil Smiles. That's going to blow your mind when you find out the statistics. Millions of Native American women missing, or other people, maybe they're minorities, maybe they're black women, maybe they're Asian, or maybe they're a Spanish descent, Latino descent. Nobody's talking about them. There's millions, and literally on the one with indigenous people, with Native Americans, there's like 794 listed cases, but yet there's hundreds of thousands or millions. It gets stranger. Anyways, I'm going to save the soapbox for another time. Tonight episode, the one we're talking about tonight, is all about hope. It's all about Elizabeth Ann Smart, the hell that she went through and endured and came back from, and what she did to take such a negative and turn it into such a positive is simply incredible. You know, doing this and putting it out there as a public thing for people everywhere to see and hear and all this, sometimes you get criticism, and that's okay. I've had several people, and nobody's really complained about it, but several people have asked, you know, you're one of there's not a lot of podcasts that use music the way that you do. Why do you do that? Well, anybody that's ever listened to music will tell you that it evokes emotion. It inspires emotion. I do not have a co-host on this program. I'm riding in the seat solo. I have a great background crew that backs me up and makes me look good or sound good, whatever, if I do. That would be Arrow and my daughter, my son-in-law and my daughter, you know, with the technical support, the artwork, the website, and all that stuff. Now let's add one more family member to it. I've known this guy for over 30 years. And from the first day I met him, parked out beside of the studios of WQHY-FM, he had went to get a girl he saw at the time. Listen to this. A tub of coleslaw. Girl loved coleslaw. I guess. But from that day forward, we've practically been inseparable. There's just something about him I knew I'd come to love as a brother, and I have for over 30 years. He is not only one of the most talented musicians I've ever laid my eyes on. Every time the guy picks up a guitar or sits behind a keyboard, I want to hear him. But he is also, he's been there through me for God, hell and high water. When we did Mom's memorial service, he was right there beside of me, literally up in front of a group of people with a guitar, as I read a poem called The Dash. I don't know that I could have made it through that without him. Blood has nothing to do with family. Nothing. Loyalty has everything to do with family. He is now handling a large part, and it's going to grow even bigger, I'm sure, of the musical scores for the Mountain Mysteries podcast. We are so lucky to have him. Beyond blessed, because if anybody can make me look better than what my daughter and son-in-law does, it is this guy, Trevor Huff. Trev, thanks for joining us, buddy.
Hey, thanks, Chris. I appreciate you, buddy. I don't know how I can follow that.
Just roll with it, man. I mean, we've been through so much together that we just kind of work right off of each other with it. So
I'll tell you, Yeah. Listen, it's been my honor and my pleasure, man, to be a part of your family, and your mom and dad were, buddy, they were two peas in a pod. And
They were,
I'll
yeah.
tell you, if you want to draw a roadmap as to what is the greatest life ever lived between two souls, that truly combined to be one, that's your mom and dad.
I believe that, and I
I
appreciate
mean,
those words. I do.
yeah, yeah, they were inseparable, and they were truly each other. They hate each other's back. I mean, they were really awesome and stuff. And I was glad to be a part of your life, and your parents' life, and
Well,
your
I
family.
remember after I lost mom, I came over, and this is the kind of guy that Trevor is. I came over to your place. You said, "Hey, come on over for a spell." I came over, and I got inebriated. I think it's safe to say. And this guy takes the keys from me, won't let me drive, won't let me get in the car. He said, "No,
No,
you're going to crash in here." Gets up the next morning, got breakfast ready. I mean, brothers do that for each other.
yeah,
And that's why I told anytime you need you're welcome here. You don't have to say you're showing up; just show up. That's all you got to do. Um, but yeah, I mean, we've been through things uh, that brothers go through: the good
yeah,
times, the bad times. The curvy roads. You know how Dad always compared living life to riding a motorcycle. Some
yeah,
days, yeah,
absolutely.
some days your road's clear, you got the wind on your back, the sun in your face, and some days, brother, you're gonna ride through a thunderstorm.
Yeah,
And
well,
there we've been.
and I'll tell you, man, really, honestly, what you're doing for these other families and stuff with some of the missing persons and all that stuff, all unsolved cases, um, man, it's a pretty awesome, it's a pretty special thing with what you're doing here with the Mountain Mysteries. And
Thank you.
yeah, it's pretty cool, and I'm just honored to be a part of it. If I can add some music here and there and stuff, and I won't lie to you, I've kind of cheated. My girlfriend Janine has kind of thrown in a few piano parts here and there. She is way more trained than I am. I just kind of throw stuff together.
She's wonderful. Trevor and Janine both were at April Pennington's celebration of life back on May 8th.
Oh, what an honor.
And what an awesome thing that you guys did. I mean, you just brought a
Man,
whole nother level to it. And
you told me about the background of that, Chris, and I don't want to say I took it for granted. I didn't want to take it for granted, but at the same time, until you see the scope of things, and until you actually are there on the property, you don't get it. You just don't get it. And I
we
did.
we were just yards from where she was found. That
Yeah,
shelter was literally, I'm guessing, maybe 30 or 40 yards, if that, from where she was found. And, it took a toll on Sharon. It took a toll on me. Well, you saw what happened to me when I got up there and gave the speech. Almost broke down.
right.
And it took a toll on my daughter, my son-in-law. It took a toll on everybody there because they saw. And that's exactly what I was saying about Gabby Petito a few minutes ago. I really hope that she gets justice. I do. But all these other people out there that don't have a voice right now, I'm not in this for ratings. I'm in this to be some kind of a voice of hope, some kind of a voice of reason for people that don't have that anymore. Now, granted, Gabby doesn't have that, but man, you heard the statistics: 3 million and some odd 100,000 hits on Google.
Right.
And I'm sorry, and look at me, okay? I am a Caucasian guy. I'm a white guy. But it seems like the media seems to focus on beautiful, young, white women. Why?
Sure. Well,
That's where your money's at. For them, for me, it's not about the money. For me, it's about the people. So that's why
right.
we do what we do. And this whole thing got started because of April. It carries on because of April. And I'm not going to lie, I had an epiphany the other day coming home. As a matter of fact, it was yesterday. If I can have one person look at these podcasts and maybe provide help to a family in way of a tip to law enforcement or in way of something to someone that can provide some kind of comfort, that's great. But also, my actions dictate what my parents instilled in me. My parents
Yeah.
instilled in me. Stand for
Yeah.
something or lay down for anything.
Well, let me shamelessly, I'm going to plug this as far as the music is concerned. Uh, you know, the first soundtrack, the first actual musical soundtrack that ever introduced the bad guy was in, I'm going to say, I'm going to take a guess here and say 1981's Jaws.
Yeah, John Williams.
And it only had
What was that?
two
Like
notes.
3 notes.
2 notes, yeah.
2 notes. Dun,
and,
dun.
Yep.
Dun, dun. Yeah, yeah.
And it was one of the most powerful soundtracks ever, you know, and it was the first time that any bad guy had ever been introduced before the actual scene started.
Yeah.
Through music.
Yeah.
And
you didn't even see the freaking shark for a good 30 minutes. So
and I told you, I said, man, if you know what, if I can just provide you with maybe your 10 or 15 notes and you think it sounds pretty good, then use it. And you said, yeah, that sounds pretty killer. And I said, well, let's just keep running with it. And I sent you, I think, maybe 7 or 8 cuts.
Yeah.
Of 7 or 8 different, you know, beds.
Yeah, we've got them saved on the production system, and we use them. Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's exactly okay. You know, when you hear the Imperial March, Darth Vader's theme, you don't have to wonder who's coming through the door. The big guy in the armor is coming through the door. You know this. It's music evokes emotion, and that's what I was going to talk to you about. Where do you come up? You know, I mean, I know that you and I discuss things off camera, and it's just between us. And I'll say, "Hey, I need something creepy and eerie and kind of like a little alien spider feel." Well, he sent me this thing. Oh my God, he knocked it out of the park. And you've heard it, and you're going to hear it again. But I mean, how does this come to you?
Well, the little creepy alien effect that you're talking about when you're talking about the little spider effect, that's actually called clavinets. Those clavinets are the little thing that you see the little Spanish girl clicking over top of her shoulders.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, that's what I use to use the little spider effect with the little creepy, the little creepy, yeah, crawly. And I've done some background effects and stuff, some intro effects and some intro beds for some independent films where they said, give me something that sounds like a rattlesnake. Well, all I had was an Easter egg, plastic Easter egg with some BBs in it. But if you rattle that, it sounds like a rattlesnake. So I got to experiment and say, well, how do I get a rattlesnake? You know, and then everybody's like, well, the wind effect is awesome. Well, that's just me going. And they're like, what? Are you serious? I'm like, yeah.
People are getting an inside look to what we both learned over the years in radio, which, I mean, I was taught so much by Paul Fife, and he said radio is theater of the mind.
Hey, listen, when you hear Arnold Schwarzenegger punch somebody in the gut or break somebody's arm or whatever, that's some dude behind a microphone with a thing of broccoli or a thing of I mean, so it's all sound effects and stuff. But I enjoy when you give me a challenge and you say, here's what I need. I need you to paint the picture through audio, through sound, through music, through notes, through instruments, even, that makes me sound desperate, but you've got to be sympathetic. And so I go, okay, what chords and how do I go about the instrumentation? Now that sounds like there's a whole lot of thought put into it. It's really not that hard. It's just after years and years of doing it, and it's just, I mean, it's really not that bad. And then, I mean, literally the other night, I was talking to Janine. She was here, and she is a piano player like crazy, and a classically trained vocalist and all that stuff. And I mean, I was just telling her, I said, I need something that sounds like this, blah blah blah. I said, do you think this would be okay? And she's like, I don't know, maybe, how about this? And I mean, oh, yeah, that's much better. And then she'd be saying, well, okay, I would try this. And I said, what about this? And she goes, oh, yeah, I like that better than what I was doing. Why don't we go run with that? and it's really neat to collaborate with other musicians that understand how all that goes together. And I love it when the average person that doesn't understand how it all goes
Me.
together,
Like me, yeah.
well, but you still go, oh, that's perfect,
Right,
and you
right.
can still
Because
feel
I
the
know what I'm looking
emotion.
for.
Yeah, you can still feel the emotion, and
That's the
I,
big
I
thing, is to evoke emotion. Yeah.
yeah, that's why I'm just happy to be a part of the project, is because you give me all kinds of different, um, I should say, painting surfaces, and then hopefully I can come up with the right paint schemes and the right colors that mix.
Absolutely.
Because just because each individual color is beautiful doesn't mean that they go together very well.
That's
And,
true. I agree with that, yeah.
well,
You
that's
know,
what music's about.
my goal on each episode of the Mountain Mysteries, especially when we're dealing with a case concerning a human being, and most all of them do, whether it's April Pennington, Dwayne Lovelace, Merrill Baldridge, is I want people to remember these names. So how do I get them to remember the name? Is it my voice alone that's enough? No, no. It may get them to talking
Right.
about it for a minute or two, but when you tie something as emotionally powerful as music to, and music is my co-host. So when you tie these scores, or this melodic interface, so to speak, and with it, when I come to you and say, I want something kind of with a corn gold feel to bring back a golden memory, or I want something that's ominous and dark, the bad guy, or who we think may be the bad guy or bad guys, are coming into this scene and this point in the story of this individual, then I want people to say, and I've seen this happen. They'd be sitting there driving down the road listening to it, and they start to do this, driving the wheel there, and they get kind of
Yeah,
wiped up.
yeah, yeah.
And they're like, okay, something's getting ready to happen. Yes, it is. You're right. How did you know? Well, listen to it. That's all you got to do. Now, somebody who's never been involved in an audio production, like we've been involved in more than we care to count,
Sure.
but somebody who is just a listener, and I always try to listen to the podcast before I drop them for release as just a listener. What do I think about that? Well, if I'm sitting there thinking to myself, wow, 46 people died on the Silver Bridge that December in 66. Or 3 guys digging a grave in McClanahan, West Virginia were the first ones locally to see the Mothman. Or such and such happened up on 22 Mine Road with the spirit or the ghost of Mamie Thurman, whatever.
We got to go there.
That's it. Yeah. I know. Didn't you say that you wanted to see if the Harleys would roll backwards up the hill?
Yeah, I did. I did.
Yeah. I was like, I said, well, to be honest, I don't know if they would, but maybe. But the score is so important, and it's because it does assist people in remembering things. The Empire Strikes Back came out in 1980. People still know that music.
Note for
Jaws
note.
came out in 77 or 78. People
Yeah.
still know that music. That's what I'm saying. Music is such a vital part of things. Now, do I use it all the time? No, there's certain moments. It'll just be my voice when I'm trying to make a very clear statement about
Sure.
something. But then we come back into it. And that's why I'm so tickled to, and honored to have you on board with this, because I can look at you and I can say, and I remember the conversation we had a few weeks ago. I said, well, I can tell you about each episode before it airs. And you're like, no, not really needed. Just tell me what you're looking for. And I was like, wow. I said, that's awesome. That's great.
Tell me the emotion, and I mean, I'll try to convey it, and I told you from the get go, if it doesn't work, you're not going to hurt my feelings if you say, hey, that doesn't work for me. I don't like it,
We're
because
too
you're the
long
main
in
man.
the tooth for this. I mean, yeah. Now this is the Mountain Mysteries, and Apple Podcast coined it as where paranormal meets true crime. So you and I have put on, I don't know how many thousands of miles together on these motorcycles over the years. We're going to talk briefly about a little trip to Georgia that you and I made in 2017 or 18 or whatever it was. And it was just, normally we go down with a small crew of fellas. Well, this time it was just Trevor and I.
Yeah.
He was on his Ultra and I was on my Ultra.
Yeah.
We go down to Georgia, and what time would you say it was? Not we had this little
2:30,
man cabin. Yeah, 2:30 or 3 in the morning. Neither one of us could sleep.
It
You
was,
got down there, you were sunburnt, weren't feeling good when we got there because I think that you just had a bug that day, you know. Anyways, we're sitting out there and you know, you heard the disclaimer at the beginning of this thing. So we're sitting out there and we're knocking back a Corona Extra apiece. And I hear this tree knocking.
yeah, yeah,
And it starts like over, you know, it's behind us. So it would start on my left and then goes to the right and then back and
yeah,
forth.
yeah. Scary, scary.
And we got to tell this story the way it happened. So parents, if you got kids, they probably need to mute this for a second. So I looked over at Trevor and I said, now keep in mind, neither one of us were intoxicated. We were having a beer.
No, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And we were both fine. I said, Trev, you hear that? And he looks over at me and he's like, yeah. And it's like knock, 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 left and right. And I'm sitting there going, okay, this is getting a little creepy. And I said, man, that could be a Bigfoot. Maybe that's a Sasquatch. So Trevor looks down at his beer for a minute and he looks back up. He says, nah, it ain't a Bigfoot. It's a, what'd you call it? Yeah,
Bigfoot.
a Dickfur. Without thinking about it, I look over at him and I say, well, what's a Dickfur?
To pee with.
And I was like, never mind. So, I mean, this is the kind of guys you've got working this thing. So I'm like, okay. So, but now also that was a good one. I'll just put that out there worldwide. So, I mean, I
Yeah.
completely missed the door opening on that one. And he just walked right in and said, there you go. So,
But
but
we
tell
did.
them what else we saw that night. This was
We-
kind of odd.
we
And at
did
first I
see-
thought it's fireflies.
Well, we were sitting on our little porch there, and we had our feet kicked up or whatever, and we couldn't sleep. And I finally just got up and I said, I'm gonna walk out here on the porch. I can't sleep. And Chris in the adjacent bed over there across the room says, I think I'll join you. I can't either. And so we're sitting there on the porch with our feet up, and I said, Chris, what is that? And there was a greenish looking. It was like if you had someone across the field with a lantern. And when I say across the field, I'm saying what, 75 yards, Chris? It wasn't that far away.
Yeah, if it was that. So yeah, I'd say
If
somewhere.
it was that. And
It was
so
creepy.
it's shining through the light, through the trees a little bit. And I said, is that a worker or a security guard? And Chris said, maybe, well, why would they have green flashlights? I said, I don't know.
At
So
3 o'clock
anyway,
in the morning too. So
at
yeah.
2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. So I said, well, I don't know. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, doesn't seem to be bothering anybody. And then all of a sudden the lights went out and then they appeared to our left, way down the creek, probably 75 yards away. And I saw green down there, and we looked down there and we saw the same kind of lights and the same tint of green, the same hue.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like a green flashlight. And then all of a sudden it went out, and I said, what are they looking for? If it's a security person, but it still looked odd.
It did.
And then,
Well, the thing that really got me about it too is if fireflies have a distinct, or it's not distinct, it's
That's right.
completely a chaotic pattern. These things were like this.
yeah, they looked like they were scanning the ground. And then,
Yeah.
so we're sitting there, and I'm not making this up, and I promise you.
And like I said, neither of us were intoxicated. We had a beer.
Right. We just couldn't sleep that night. And so
No.
anyway, we're sitting there and we're quiet. We don't want to disturb the neighbors. And then we're looking out there. I'm not kidding, man. There's two green, what looks like eyes to me, that appear in the tree line. And we're talking 50 yards away. Maybe not even that, maybe 35 yards away.
It sure felt like it was getting closer.
Yeah. And so there's like these two green lights out there, and they're large green eyes, if they're eyes at all. And I said, Chris, is that eyes or what? And Chris said, I don't know, man. That's kind of tripping me out. I said,
Yeah.
I think it's just fireflies that have landed on a tree. And all of a sudden they both went out at the exact same time.
Yep.
And they both come back on at the same time. And I went, that ain't fireflies. Fireflies don't blink in unison.
And then we started hearing the tree squawking again, or whatever that is. And it was at that point I thought, now listen to how intelligent I am. I looked at Trev and I said, we need to go back inside. As if a little 8 by 10 or 10 by 15 flimsy wood building is going to keep out a 9-foot, 400-pound Sasquatch or a ghost. The next day or the day after, when we were riding back home, we were coming out through, excuse me, what is that road that we love so much? It makes the tail of the dragon look biff.
Oh, Wolfpen Gap Road.
Wolfpen Gap Road. We were on the Harley driving back, and I just remembered this scene from a movie called Gone with the Wind when Rhett Butler or Clark Gable looks at Vivian Lee and he starts laughing at her. She said, "What are you laughing at?" He said, "You, trying to lock the Yankees out." So I thought to myself, that was us, me trying to lock out the Bigfoot. Yeah. As if that thing
Yeah.
could not have picked up the building with us in it and just threw it and, had dinner or whatever.
I don't know what that was to this day.
I don't either. But the tree squawking or the tree knocking, I call it squawking, but the tree knocking, maybe I watched too many Amazon Prime videos, and I've been a guest on a couple of different podcasts talking about the mountain mysteries. And one of them, his name's Earl. He is a renowned investigator for Bigfoot, Sasquatch. And I told him about this incident during the podcast, and he said, "Sounds to me like you had encounters." He said the only time that they normally do something like that is if they feel that they could be threatened or if they feel they are threatened. And he said that's how they communicate with each other. And I took that to mean maybe kind of like a Morse code, because you got to admit, maybe people think, well, they're just big dumb apes. Oh, really? Well, if that's the case, then how come they've never been caught? I mean, I'm just throwing that out there, playing the devil's advocate. I am. Have I ever seen one? No, I've never, ever seen one, and I really hope I don't. But is it possible? Yeah, I think anything's possible. But that was
Chris, I'm gonna go. Yeah, that was probably the strangest thing that I've ever had happen in my life.
Yeah.
So that's how serious it was. It wasn't something that was just happenstance. It was pretty serious.
It was.
I know you got to go. You got to get on with the rest of your show tonight.
Yeah.
I want to throw this out and kind of sabotage your program tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about the music stuff there earlier.
Yeah.
I've been in this for over 30 years now with the music stuff. Of course, I had my own original band back in the day with Flatbury Stone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did all the. I was the business end of that particular band and all that stuff. I want people to know that I want to help whatever way I can. The Mountain Arts Center this weekend, I am actually hosting a seminar on music publishing.
Awesome.
And how to make money on your music. So your original music, I'm going to show people how to go about getting your music out there in front of people, how to get it number one, copyrighted.
Yes, that's a big deal.
It's a huge deal.
Yes, it
safeguarded and all that stuff. If you want some more information or what have you, the classes are if you're willing to give us some feedback at the end of the class, it's $45 per class. It's 3 hours long.
Mm-hmm.
And we will walk you through the process of actually getting your particular individual original song, lyrics, song, whatever, copyrighted.
That's a good investment for anybody looking.
Yeah, I've done it for 30 years. So
you had music actually appear on NBC Sports. Was it NBC or ABC?
Yeah, NBC, ESPN, CBS, the WB, all kinds of crazy places that you wouldn't expect somebody from Southeast Kentucky to have music put on.
Well, that's the same thing that we've talked about so many times, that there's so much talent in these hills.
Oh man,
in these mountains, it's ridiculous.
I'm the peon in this area. I look around and go, wow, but at the same time, I had someone, a young fella, 10 times more talented than I, that didn't know how to copyright their music. And I went, that's the first thing you need to do is copyright your music. And it's not that hard, but it's really confusing.
Mm-hmm.
This thing coming up this Saturday is 10 to 1. It's not going to take up your whole day. and we will explain all that. Yeah, we will explain all that and as to how to get all that stuff done. Now, we would like for you to go online and look up the Mountain Arts Center and go online and check it out and actually download a form to fill out. But if you don't show up at 10 o'clock a.m., we'll try to fit you in.
That's
I
incredible.
mean,
Now that's this Saturday.
this coming Saturday, yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, it's going to be such an educational thing, man, because my goodness, we're going to give you examples as to why people got away with copyright infringement and why they did not.
Mhm.
So, I
And
mean,
it's a real thing.
it is a real
Infringement
thing.
is a real thing. Yes.
As a matter of
Absolutely.
fact, Chris, right now, and we will talk about this more Saturday. I won't go into it because we don't have time. But as a matter of fact, right now, eh, I was raised here in Southeast Kentucky. Um, I am looking into a lawsuit against the top 10 hit rock and roll band Seether
Yeah.
about
Copyright
infringement.
infringement.
Yeah, so you gotta copyright that stuff and protect yourself in the eye of the law, so that if something ever did happen, and we will teach you all about that this coming Saturday at the Mountain Arts Center. It's all through the Mountain Arts Center.
Right
And
here in
so
Prestonsburg.
thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, Joe Campbell and them are great at the Mountain Arts Center, and they're wonderful, and they're
A lot
going
of
to.
good people there. Mhm.
Yeah, so come on out there and see us at 10 a.m. if you want to. If you hear us on this podcast or this broadcast here,
Mhm.
but now I'll tell you, I love being a part of it. I love providing the music for it. Anything we can do to help.
Well, we absolutely enjoy the daylights out of having you and appreciate it. And again, this Saturday, you can actually meet Trev at the Mountain Arts Center in Prestonsburg, 10 a.m., $45, which is a great investment if you're a musician, because you should be paid for your work.
That's right, exactly.
And that's what it is. Writing music is work. It's no different than any other work. Well, I would beg to differ on that a little bit, because it is such a creative process and there's a labor of love that goes into that. And anybody that does it well, like Trev, or like so many other musicians I know, then they should be compensated fairly for that work, because that work inspires people. It evokes emotion. Brother, I
We
love you, and
appreciate that.
thanks for coming on. Oh, by the way, if this lawsuit comes anything, the trip to Santa Monica Pier and back on the Harleys, that's on you.
That's on me.
That's on
right
you.
here.
Brother, thanks a lot for being on. We really appreciate you.
Thank you. God bless.
God bless. So that's Trevor Huff, folks. Now, again, that's this Saturday. So, yeah, don't miss that. Be there for that if you can, okay? This episode that you are going to hear will feature some of Trevor's scoring, which is called Nightmares of a Child. You are going to learn what Elizabeth Ann Smart went through, the hell she went through. She was even at a point with this guy that abducted her from her own bedroom in her own home. She said, "Look, if you're going to rape and kill me, just do it here so I can be found. I don't want my parents thinking that I ran away from them. I don't want my parents thinking, not being able to give me a proper burial." It's heartbreaking, but yet the way that she takes this and turns it into hope is inspiring, and that's exactly what she's done. It's absolutely incredible. There's no doubt about that. I hope that you guys will check that out. Also want to give a shout out to some of our listeners that I know is listening, that may not be so much participating in the chat rooms and all that stuff, but I know that they're watching, like Maddie Blankenship, Tracy Ferguson, and all of you other guys. So thank you so much for being a part of that. We really do appreciate it. And that episode will drop tonight. Now, the chills are available. The first one, which was an Appalachian ghost story. The Mountain Mysteries chills. These are freaky little 15, 20, maybe even 30-minute things. And the next one is going to be on the Bell Witch. Patreon subscribers will have access to it Monday, and you'll be able to get it everywhere else on Thursday, around 6 in the morning. That one on the Bell Witch is just the way it turned out. And some of that scoring was provided by Trevor. But I'm telling you, the way that thing turned out was just absolutely creepy. And it's a legend that most people around the southeastern part of the United States has heard of, out of Tennessee. But that's coming up too. So coming up next week, we are going to be talking about some of the Native American ladies that have been missing and have gone missing. And now people know why. It's not that we'll never do an episode on Gabby Petito. That's not what I'm saying. But right now, there's so much attention on her. I'd like to deflect some of our attention to people that nobody are talking about. They have voices too. They're human beings too. If I could talk about every single one of them in a course of an hour or 2 hours, I would. But it's impossible. But some of the statistics that you hear are going to make your blood boil. I have no doubt about that. So, well, it looks like this is getting low, so you know what that means. Really doesn't mean much of anything. I just wanted to throw that up there. But I'm Chris Sloan for the Mountain Mysteries and the Mountain Mysteries Gatherings, which is what you're watching. Hope that you guys will check out the podcast and check out our website. It's themountainmysteriespodcast.com. Check out our shop on there. You can listen to episodes. You can submit requests for an episode. If you have a family member or a loved one that you would like to feature or for us to feature on the Mountain Mysteries or the Mountain Mysteries Gatherings, you can contact us through there too. That's all you got to do. And once you reach out to us, we'll reach back to you. Either myself or my daughter or my son-in-law will reach out to you too. Again, thanks to Trevor Huff for coming on to the Mountain Mysteries Gatherings tonight. The Mountain Mysteries Gatherings, episode 30, drops at midnight tonight, and that is all about Elizabeth Ann Smart. I hope that you enjoy it, or will enjoy it, and I hope that you guys have a wonderful and a safe evening. And remember, out there, stay safe. This pandemic is real. The good news is I understand that the cases are leveling off and starting to drop. So in accordance to your faith and belief, do what you feel is best for you and your family, but please stay safe, stay healthy. I love every single one of you. May God bless you. And until the next time, stay mysterious.
From one coast to the other, mysteries are everywhere, and we will continue to pursue the answers to those questions and more. Please share, like, and rate the Mountain Mysteries podcast and tell your friends to tune in on Facebook or YouTube. The Mountain Mysteries Gatherings are each Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you'd like to support the Mountain Mysteries, search and help these families, join us on Patreon, or you can make a one-time donation as well. The Mountain Mysteries and the Mountain Mysteries Gatherings are property of the Pantry Studios and Chris Sloan, who writes and produces the content. If you would like to reach out to the Mountain Mysteries, please email us at pantrystudio@yahoo.com. Until next time, my friends, stay mysterious.
A Pantry Studio production.